people tend to think women don't know sports.
Yeah,
I put the tissues over here because I knew I would need them.
Thank you for the story. It made history. Everyone was screaming with joy, and you could feel that flooded the entire room.
I'm Jolie Santiago, and this is Your Story Helps.
Welcome to our very first podcast of Your Story Helps. Today we have our first guest. She is a passionate student leader interested in broadcasting major. She's a VP of Finance in the WTOP, a broadcasting organization. She is in New York, SUNY Oswego. She is Jolie Santiago.
Hi there. Hi, Ethan. Thank you so much for having me here. This is so nice already, and it means a lot that you asked me to be here.
Oh, for sure. Because today, before the podcast, I was trying to understand your journey and your achievement over the years. And I realized you have done so much. You are a student leader. You are in the broadcasting major, trying to finish your bachelor's degree. You are very involved in every single thing in many different projects. And my question is, how did you find your inner drive to complete all these achievements and many different projects? And how did you do it? How did you find yourself to multitask on many different things and succeed in them? And most importantly, I know that you do all this while taking good care of yourself. So how do you do it?
Yeah, a great question. It honestly goes back to me as a child. Like when my mom and dad were raising me, they made me have very good values. They instilled those very good values in me that, motivation to be the best, motivation to just do your best at the end of the day. And honestly, I owe it all to my parents, my mom and dad, and also my grandparents. They just are so thoughtful of how they were taking care of me and raising me and my siblings that they made sure we were just very educated, very intellectual, very emotionally intelligent as well. Like a lot of those things definitely have driven me to be my best, and therefore best I kind of associate with being involved in different activities and projects, because you're doing so many things, you're trying so many things, and you're not afraid to fail. That's the biggest thing. I think when you're not afraid to fail, that's when you're at your best, because you're willing to do anything. You're willing to try new things. You're willing to take on new projects, do a bunch of different things as well, and really hones in who you are, because when you're able to succeed in those tasks, it shows you don't stop trying. So there's just a lot of resilience that I was taught since a young age, and I'm seeing it come to fruition now in my college years. I saw it in high school as well, but especially during college when I was at Rockland Community College, and now I'm at SUNY Oswego.
Yeah, and just now you mentioned, your intellectual intelligence and both emotional intelligence. And sometimes we tend to focus on one side or the other. But you managed to speak about both and how your parents and grandparents highlighted these two areas. But why is it important to you?
It's very important to me due to the fact that you cannot be just intelligent. You can be book smart, you can understand everything, but if you don't understand who you are and what you feel, I don't think you'll really have a good navigation of the world. And being emotional about what you're feeling, or at least expressing what you're feeling, is vital to how you communicate with other people, how you go about your day, how you really kind of navigate, but also just see and go through the day, because how you feel in the morning will not be the same as how you feel in the night. And kind of recognizing that for yourself and finding things that work for you and work best for you, I think that's the way you'll feel your happiest, because being happy at the end of the day, I think that's all our goal. I would like to be happy at the end of the day, but it doesn't always go my way. But when it does, I like to thank myself for like realizing what I needed to do and how I can achieve it next time. Or, we always wake up the next day and like, it's a new day, just gotta do it differently, however that means to you.
Yeah, I really love that you say that you reflect on yourself and also see your world around you and see how that impacts your life, right? And just now you mentioned that you get to achieve all these things that your parents tell you to do, achieve your very best and never stop trying, and find joy in that. People miss that last part. That is
True.
why
That's really true.
that people are kind of a slave to their achievements. But you managed to say that you got to find the joy in that in the last moment. So with all the things that is going on in your life, how are you managed to in the end still find joy in that?
Yeah, I will say I'm not perfect at it yet. I'm not at my best when I feel unhappy. I know people around me, they know I'm very hard on myself. I'm very critical of my achievements or the things that I do because, I kind of, again, back to how I was raised to be, this is how you do it great, good for you. Like, you should be proud of things that you do when you do it good. Not saying that they would get upset at me when I wouldn't do it right, but more of like, you could do better, and I know you could do better, so do better. And with that, it's always made me see what I could do it, and reflect on it. So when I reflect on it, I'm very critical, but they're for good reasons because I get better after. And yes, I'm sad about it sometimes. That's for sure. I'm definitely sad when I don't do well, but it's not all about doing well. It's also, did you have fun doing it? That's the question I have to ask myself. And let me tell you, I've asked myself the last couple weeks, like, am I having fun? And every time I've said yes. So I'm going to keep doing what I like to do. And what that is that I'm referring to is more like the all women's broadcast that I was able to co-produce and do play-by-play for. The whiteout broadcast that just happened, that was amazing. And it took my breath away so many times. I didn't realize that I was capable of doing that. I was an analyst, so it was a truly huge role, and I did amazing at it. I'm so proud of myself. And again, just reflecting, did I like it? Did I have fun? Yes, I did. I had a lot of fun, and I know that broadcasting is for me. There will be days that I'm not going to have fun, but I'm having fun right now, and I'm going to ride the wave. And the other thing is, like, broadcasting, it's a really hard career. It's a hard industry also, that you have to have fun with it or find joy in it, or else it's just not going to be for you because it's low paying. It's not the best kind of working conditions depending on where you are. Like, there's so many things that go into it that you really have to love what you do to continue to do it. So what I say to this is that I love it right now. I love it at WTOP, the student-run television station. But if, it's not for me down the road, then it's not for me down the road. I'll find something else that's for me, I'm not too worried about that. But I just like to know or think that I'm having fun right now and I'm enjoying it. I'm just going to keep doing what I love.
You touched on so many great points, and
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for sharing that too.
Yeah.
And just now you were mentioning in terms of broadcasting, you were involved in anchoring, producing, hosting, being an announcer before, even scriptwriter. And the recent achievement, that the two things that big achievements that you are doing is the all women's broadcast in SUNY Oswego. It's the first ever in the history, and we have 160 years history over here. And the other one is the whiteout game, biggest game of the year, and you get to be involved in it. Could you share a little bit about your experience in those two aspects?
Yeah, those two games were absolutely incredible. So let's start with whiteout and then I'll go to the all women's broadcast. So whiteout, it's an every year game, but this year I was on the perch, it's called. It's really where you're able to oversee the entire deb, just look at everybody from a nice corner of the arena. And it's called that that because it's a perch, I guess is the best way to describe it. You're like perching over like a bird.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because you're seeing everything happen. You're getting to analyze it as the game's going on. And then you talk about it in the intermission report. Great stuff. You really get to see the knowledge of what you've just watched and then piece it up, like piece it apart and like really analyze it for the audience. Loved it. I had a great time doing it. But the pregame show, which is you are preparing this with your producer ahead of time, we did this in a great order that the producer Jacob Bradley worked on. And he just like was so solid about everything. Like he was making sure everybody knew their stuff and everything was just so planned out. It was perfect. I loved it. I like couldn't get over how perfect it was. So it made my job easier as an analyst because I knew what we would be talking about. And I researched. And I did really well when it came down to the time that we were supposed to go. I was like, I'm ready to do this. I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I was excited. Like, I think I'm just starting to get more confident in myself that I'm not feeling the like, oh my God, I'm so scared. Like, I'm genuinely so happy and confident doing it. And that's why I think this is for me, Ethan. I think it is because I just feel so happy. We did an analysis of the game before the game actually happened, kind of comparing the two teams, comparing the coaches, comparing the stats of each player, like really finding a player that works for us. And I picked somebody that I was doing some research on for a long time. And I don't know, I just felt like I was going above and beyond, and it could really show, at least through the feedback that I got, that it showed that I was knowledgeable. And I like that a lot. I like that happened. Yeah, it meant a lot to me that people actually watched too. It was our most watched non-SUNY championship game because all the games that we have that are most watched are SUNY championships because people watch from all over. It's like, oh my gosh, huge game. But this game was the most watched, and it's not a SUNY championship. It's Plattsburgh versus Oswego. It's Whiteout 1.0 because we usually have the 2.0 when they go against each other later. But for this to be the most watched one so far, I'm really happy. I think that means a lot, and a lot of people watched us last night. Got tons of views, tons of local channels were being watched also. So really huge accomplishment, and I'm going to talk about it for so long, but there's so much more to also dive into. So the All Women's broadcast.
Well, before we dive into the All Women's broadcast, I just want to express that I'm sure myself and every audience here can feel the joy of you when you were speaking about them. And that's a joy that is from inner drive, in your inner self that is within you, that is showing that expressed interest. And just now you said it's the most watched game, even not in a SUNY. And I want to explain that this game is number 2 in the nation for having the highest audience in Division 2 and Division 3 ice hockey game. Wow. It's in SUNY Oswego.
That's so cool.
And you get to be part of it.
And that's even crazier.
Yes.
You're teaching me so many different things now. Like, that's awesome. Wow, yeah. It's like a huge rivalry. It's been going on forever. I'm glad to see it's still going. It's pretty fun to watch, especially with that fight that happened right at the end. But honestly, it's exactly that. Like, it's a huge game. D3 hockey is underrated. Let's say that for sure.
Most definitely. Women's
hockey, underrated. They're crazy good. There's just so much that goes into it. I love covering the sport. I love covering the players. There's a lot to dive into there, but I appreciate you saying that, and that's so cool.
Yeah. And do you get the interest from being an analyst? Was it from Maddie Flood? Was that where it all started?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing up Maddie Flood. Yeah. Maddie Flood is an amazing person. She's the sweetest person when she's just like doing her work. She's so professional. She's amazing. But the reason I'm talking about her is because she was the first woman I saw on the perch, which I was on this past whiteout weekend. So she was the first person I saw on a perch when I was here. And I was like, wait, I've never seen a woman on the perch. And I was like, okay, I need to circle back now. I need to try and see, let me talk to her. Let me see how she does it. Let me see what she's doing. I just wanted to pick her brain and see what she does. And I'm pretty sure she's only a freshman or sophomore. Like, she's younger than me as well. So learning from your youngins, that's always a good idea. But anyways, I noticed that she was really interested in hockey. She's like a huge hockey fan. So I was like, I need to get more into this. I want to learn hockey. I want to learn the sport. I want to get really knowledgeable about any sport that I can now because I love sports and I love sports announcing. I love sports commentary. So
Yes.
sports broadcasting seems to be up my alley.
Yeah.
So I hope to do that, but it starts with like learning. So I learned that from Maddie Flood. And after that, I started getting more and more involved in hockey broadcasts, which are huge at Oswego. So when I started getting more and more involved, I saw that people were looking to me as kind of a person that they thought, you know, hey, let me talk to Jolie about this. I think she'll know the answer. When I started seeing that, I'm like, wow, like this is really awesome. You know, hard work pays off. And so I think that really embodies what the All Women's broadcast is.
Yeah, it really shows that someone inspired you, and now you're the inspiration of many others.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but you're so right. Yeah.
It's a whole progress of your whole story that you're here now. So I'm love to hear that. And I want to go back to the topic about the All Women's broadcast. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about it? Because it made history in the whole 160 years of SUNY Oswego. And it's not a small deal. But could you share a little bit more?
For sure. So the name that I mentioned earlier, Jacob Bradley, he's our sports director at WTOP, the student-run media television station. So what he did was during the fall interest meeting of 2023, he said, we're going to have an all-women's broadcast. It's going to be on February 2nd. You guys will handle that. I'm like, okay. Did I see that right? I literally took a picture. I sent it to Natalie, who's my co-producer. And I was like, Natalie, we're doing this. But yeah, so it was really great. I have to say it started in December. We started getting the wheels running, Natalie and I. We were like, let's do this. Let's do this. We're going to work on this together. This is going to be our project. There it is. We reached out to Brittany Cairns. She's an Oswego alum and a WTOP alum as well. And she was huge on producing in the sports department at WTOP. So I was like, I need to talk to her. I need to pick her brain, right? Again, you are learning from people who have done it before, really trying to understand who they are, how they did it. And, that representation of how they can do it, it reflects on you like I can do it. So it goes hand in hand with All Women's broadcast because that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to execute a broadcast where women felt comfortable in sports media, doing sports production, being on the crew, which is talent or crew with the technical director, the director, the audio, the dashboard, the producing. There's so many areas of that we wanted women to be a part of that they might have not been before because of I would say, the environment. It's hard in sports media because people tend to think women don't know sports. It's like a weird notion that people just get automatically. It's definitely stereotypical of like movies and just things that they were probably grown up with, but it's not true at all. And that's what hurts me because it's like people have a false narrative in their head about women in sports, as if women in sports media and women that play sports aren't as this, as that, as this, as that, as men. And that's just, it's not the case. It's just not the case. And I just wish people knew that. But that's what we were trying to get across with the All Women's broadcast. And then we just proved it. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. And it was amazing. So we, Natalie and I co-produced over winter break. We were on FaceTime all the time. We were putting together our rundown. We were putting together the list of what's going to happen in the show. We were putting together everything that we could possibly do. And we made the crew list of who's going to be there. We made the talent list of who's going to be there based on people that signed up on a Google form. There is so much planning that goes into this. It's insane. But I felt like it was amazing. It was perfect to me. And I wouldn't have asked it to go any other way due to the fact that we worked so hard for this. And it made me literally cry at the end because I saw how happy everybody was afterwards. Because the environment, Eason, the environment is so special. When you're around people that are so loving and caring and comfortable around you, it makes everything so good. I felt like the broadcast was good because of the people. The people made it good. And I thank them all for everything they did, and it just touches my heart to see everybody so like involved, and they put so much time and energy into it. But yeah, it was really cool to make history. Like it's like that wasn't what we were like anticipating. We were just like, oh, this all women's broadcast. Like, let's make sure that the ladies feel included, and this is all about them. But then it turned into we're literally making history because this has never been done before. But we hope it continues.
Yeah.
I put the tissues over here because I knew I would need them. I knew I'd need them, so yeah.
Truly thank you for the story, because I remember seeing the video of the show ended and all the women walk into the room and everyone was screaming with joy, and you could feel that flooded the entire room, and even through the camera I could feel it. I watched the video, I wasn't there myself in person, but I could see it. I could feel like the achievement that you guys brought, not just in that moment, but you guys brought it throughout the history. From here onwards, people are going to believe in you, especially women, to run this entire program more and more. And I love that you share this experience, because it is definitely not easy. Just now you mentioned, this show, it's about for the audience to know, is about 3 hours kind of show, from pre-game and during the game and after the game, a little bit of analytic part, right? And although this whole part is 3 hours, can you tell us a little bit more about how much you worked on before the show just to make this happen?
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah.
I mean, from start to finish, you could maybe count, I don't even know how many hours, just countless amount of hours that go into just one broadcast. A 3-hour broadcast probably requires, I would say, 75 hours of work, if that. I think it might be more, it might be just a little bit less. It's just that if you're counting how much time you're spending thinking about your ideas, thinking about how they could come to life, thinking about the graphics, thinking about the people that will be doing this, thinking about how you're communicating with those people. I mean, the list just goes on and on about so many of the aspects of the broadcast that you have to think of. There's so many things that get lost because you're not just straight putting it on piece of paper and writing it down, because everything is always moving. Everything's so fast. This industry is very quick. Even getting advertisements, you have to make sure you play the advertisements during the show. I mean, there's tons of things that go into this. I had a to-do list on that from beginning to end of what needed to happen to go into this. And not even all the stuff was on there, and it was 3 pages long. I mean, that could also represent of this. But the other thing I also want to say is that we created ideas, like new ideas that people are now implementing in the broadcast. We haven't interviewed coaches from the other team before. Now we're doing that. We're interviewing the coach to the other team. We're not just interviewing the players on Oswego. We're not just interviewing the coaches from Oswego. We're interviewing players from other teams and coaches from other teams. And this is very important because it's creating a balanced broadcast. And we want to hear from those different voices. We don't want to just hear from Oswego, because it isn't just Oswego broadcast. It's a sport game. It's a sport. It's a 2 teams going head to head. So how can we represent 2 teams going head to head? We have to show both teams. Any way that we can incorporate both of them. And I've noticed a lot of different creativity that we were able to implement in the all women's broadcast is now just being involved in other ones. And we're very grateful to see that, because our ideas are really important. And I'm glad that people in sports are listening to us now.
Yeah, most definitely. You definitely changed the dynamic of the entire program too. And just now you said that you put in at least 75 hours just to create the whole show, and it's a 3-hour show. And how many women are involved in your all women's broadcast program too?
Yeah, it was 22 women, and it was, I mean, I haven't been surrounded by that many ladies that have just been so passionate about sports as well. Like, that's amazing. Sports media, they were all about it. I mean, you can't ask for a better group of people.
Yeah.
But I will say, I know there will be better groups down the line, though. Like, there's going to be more ladies that are involved in this. So their group will be the best. Like, everybody has their own group, and I think this was our group, and can't wait to see next year's group. I would love to guide them if they ever need that. So yeah.
Just now you mentioned, 75 hours, 22 ladies gathered together just to make this moment happen. And I love that you mentioned this. And I know you mentioned this before as well. And I want to say it in the camera for the audience to hear. This is not the end. This is just part of where we start. And we are going to keep going and see where this goes to. And, in terms of broadcasting, right? You have been involved in so many aspects, right? Just now I mentioned like anchoring, hosting, producing, an announcer, scriptwriter. So my question is, how, if someone is walking in the same footstep as you, or someone who is working on multiple projects in their own life, how do they find what's best for them? How do they find, quote unquote, their calling or our calling?
Yeah, so for me, I was kind of feeling really sad last semester, and I say sad as just a simple term, just because it kind of embodies what I was feeling. Not last semester, last year. The reason I say that is because last year I was a junior. I transferred into SUNY Oswego that fall, and I was coming from Rockland Community College. The transition was great. It was more of the fact that my peers that were also juniors were like 3 steps ahead of me. They had been taking classes that were highest level of broadcasting. They were taking on internships that were giving them that real world experience. They had connections with people that I have never even heard of, but they're important. So I was like, that those experiences that they already had, and they were just a junior while I was just starting out as a junior, made me feel so defeated. I think it was just because I was like, I went to community college because of COVID. I went to community college to make sure that I was closer to home and not dealing with all of that ruckus that COVID was dealing with on campus. Like, college campuses were going crazy with COVID. So I was trying to protect myself, but it felt like it was backfiring on me because I was still behind now. But I noticed that I was feeling that way in my class that I had with Al Roker. Get that? I'm in a class with Al Roker, and I still feel like I'm behind. That doesn't add up, right? But it was more of the fact that...
Who is Al Roker?
Oh, yeah, Al Roker. We got to talk about Al Roker. He's an Oswego alum, but he's also a meteorologist on the Today Show, which is a huge show in America. Americans love the Today Show. It's their morning show. It gets them through. And yeah, he's there, and it's with NBC. But I took a class with him.
Yes.
And during this class, he's like talking about these different things, and I'm like, okay, I got you. And at one point, he was critiquing our work, and I was like, oh my gosh, everybody's work is so much better than mine. And I was like, I don't know, I was just like weirded out by the whole thing. I was like, why am I not at their level or more, And I could tell it was because I went to community college. I didn't take broadcasting classes there. They didn't have broadcasting classes. They had liberal arts and humanities. Great. I absolutely loved Rockland Community College. Do not get me wrong, but the broadcasting aspects of it, I feel like I didn't really get to have until the very end. I did have an experience where I did an interview with Bruce Kreitzer, who's an NBA coach.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I'm not trying to say that I'm taking this for granted, but more of the fact that I just felt very defeated last year. But that didn't stop me, and I think that's what really is getting me here today. Like, I'm looking back at that moment right now, and I'm like, wow, I was not in the right mindset when I was there, because right now I'm at the same level as my peers, and I didn't really take any different classes. It's not about the classes. It's not about the internships. It's not about how you're doing or who you know in those connections. It's about how much effort you're putting into yourself and your work. Because at the end of the day, you can have all those classes under your belt. You could have all those internships and you could know all those people. But what you know about yourself and what you know about your work and how you want to go about your life is a totally different story. And I was associating success with those classes, with those internships, with those people, rather than associating success with what I'm trying to do, my efforts into what I'm trying to do, how I'm trying to be the best. And back to my roots of how my parents brought me up, like, be your best. I wasn't being my best last year, and that showed, and that's why I was so sad. I wasn't being my best. I was just being down on myself, and that didn't get me anywhere. So to look back at that time and compare it to now, nothing really changed with classes. I mean, yes, I'm taking more advanced classes because I'm a senior, and I'm have an internship because I worked hard to get an internship and talk to people, and I made connections because I'm putting in effort. So once again, it's just about the effort. It's not about experience like that. So I really, really want to emphasize to people who are trying to find their way in really any field, it's about the effort. It's about what you're putting in, because what you put in is what you're going to get out. And if you're not getting anything out, it's because you're not putting anything in. It's just going to cycle back and forth. You really have to put an effort for yourself, for what you want. You have to really know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, find your way. We all have to find our way. I think that we get caught up on paying attention to other people and what they're doing. It's not about other people, it's about yourself. All right. I love your grass is greener, something like that. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener on your side where you water it. So I really love that. I heard that. That was definitely a quote from a song, but I don't remember which one. Again, bad memory, but you know what I mean? Yes. But yeah, thank you, Ethan. That was a really good question. I really wanted to talk about that. Effort goes a long way. Effort's where you go.
I really, really want to gather everyone's attention with the word that you mentioned just now. The success is not about the achievement. It's about how much effort you're putting in yourself, in those efforts to achieve those. That is more important than the achievement itself. The process of how much effort you put into it. And just now, I love that you mentioned that you also, if you want to find your way, you got to try different things and put effort in yourself and in the process of achievement to find out and discover more about life. I really enjoy that.
Exactly true. And I'm going to tell you, I don't really notice that I'm doing these things. It's more that they are happening. And now with this conversation with you, I'm able to reflect on it. And I see where everything's happening. And it's really incredible that we're talking about this right now, because I'm noticing what I'm doing, and it's really taking me aback. Like, wow, Jolie, like, you're really, really doing great, and you should really be proud of yourself. Because, like, at the end of the day, I haven't been thinking, oh my gosh, it's the achievement, it's what happened. I'm always just happy that I put my all into it. And that's really hard to say when you don't put your all into it. People don't put their all into things. They just do it and hope that something happens. We can't do that. We have to really be passionate about what we do, or we're not going to be happy. It brings us right back to the happiness that we have in our life. Like, would you rather be happy, or would you rather kind of skate on by and kind of let the world hit you and let life happen to you? No, life doesn't happen to you. It shouldn't happen to you. You should make it. You should make it for yourself. You should do it for yourself. Do it for whoever you want. Do it, but do it right in whatever way that means to you.
Yeah. We're in charge of our own life. We can make things happen.
Exactly. We live in a world right now where we can, be in charge of our own space, our own time, our own energy. So put it in the right place. I think we get caught up in, like, our phones, for sure.
Yeah.
Phones are a big one. We get caught up in a lot of different distractions, but there's a lot more to our life than those distractions. We have a path, and I hope we stay on it. And I think if we all were to stay on it, this world would be a better place.
Yeah. And sometimes we're not just distracted by our things around us. We are distracted and think that we are busy, that, we are clouding ourselves, forgetting what's the true purpose of this. And a lot of the times we forgot to enjoy the success. And the success is, where you are usually is probably what you hope for at one point. And we forgot about that. And
Yeah.
we made it all so far
Yeah.
because we put in so much effort and drive into this. One thing that many people see in you is that you have a lot of things going on, and people describe you as the light when you walk into the room. People feel the positivity, but with all these things that is going on, it must not have been easy.
Yeah.
How do you show up like that?
I know that I was raised to be polite, respectful,
Yeah.
and kind. Those were really big values my parents instilled in me. And again, it goes back to them. Like, they really have taught me, like, all the values, they've instilled all that foundation in me. It's really brought me to a really great spot. But if I'm thinking about being respectful, kind, polite, while making sure that I'm doing my best, trying my best, being the best in a way, kind of doing all of these things is like the recipe or the formula for a really awesome person. And I'm not trying to be like, I'm an awesome person, but like things you say, like, you really make me feel like I'm great, Easton. So I'm thinking about it and reflecting, like, I am a really awesome person. Like, you should say that to yourself. You shouldn't like hide it or like be so humble about it. If you're a great person, you're a great person. Like, talk about yourself. So I guess that's what I'm doing right now. And I think that the biggest thing in my life since I was a young girl was to be kind to people. I've always seen people be mean, bully, do just really bad stuff. Like, there's no need for that. It's a terrible world as it is outside of like our little bubble. And I think that there's just, there's no way that I've ever wanted to be that mean person. I've always wanted to be kind, and I think now that's what I'm doing, being kind and trying to help in any way I can.
Yeah. And it's not easy, stepping up when you are feeling overwhelmed in times. And just now you mentioned that you do not realize how great you are. And I think that's a trap that we all fall into because we are busy working on so many different things. We forgot to look in the mirror and appreciate ourselves about how much work that we have put in ourselves, right? And
True.
so how do you help others to, look at themselves more, or love themselves more, or even forgive themselves? How do we do that? Because we are always kind of in a dark hole. We keep looking our goals, but we don't look at ourselves.
I think taking care of yourself is really good. Again, I'm not perfect. By any means, I'm not perfect. If people tell me all the time, you need a break, you need a break, they're right. I do need a break. I tend not to give myself breaks though, but I do need to give myself breaks. It's necessary, as much as I might not want to do it at the moment. But
you gotta pat yourself on the back.
Gotta pat yourself on the back. Like, right now, I just told myself I'm awesome, and I'm like, I never say that. I guess I don't say it out loud. I should say it more, of course. I have a list of affirmations right in my desk that say all the things I've written down that I love about myself. And I see it, but I don't say them. And I think I need to say them. Say them out loud, say them more, be confident, and just say them. Say the affirmations that you love about yourself, because there's things to love about yourself. There's things to love about yourself, and everybody should know that. Everybody has something to love about themselves. It's not that serious. Once again, it's not that serious. Like, we have a life right now. We're using it however we want to, and I hope that we all find our way. We find our way through this crazy world, and we're nice to ourselves and others. That's my old motto. And I love that I'm saying it like so condensed and hoping people take it away, because I hope my story helps.
Yeah. Well, we often like to compliment everyone else around us, but right, you're right. How about ourselves? How about complimenting yourself? Like Ethan, you're pretty awesome.
You're pretty awesome, Winston. I hope you know
Jolie,
that.
you're pretty awesome. You should tell
You're pretty
yourself that, right?
awesome. Yeah.
So people in the audience, if you could compliment yourself, like any compliment that you
yourself.
appreciate about yourself, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because you are better than yourself than you think are. You yourself think are. So I want to close off with like two extra questions, but the first question I want to ask is if you could make any law that everybody has to follow.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah, everybody, you know.
it's hard.
What would it be? Now you're the
Law.
Jolie Santiago president of people.
Any law.
Any law that everybody has to follow. What would it be?
This is a hard one, Ethan. I don't know. I guess my law would be. Okay, I'd have this law. Everyone is not required to work.
Yeah.
But they are supposed to do something for themselves, for the community, and for the world. Now, it sounds very broad, but I have an idea of what it could be. So, no working, no 9 to 5s, no 12 to 9s, none of that. More like people genuinely have to do things for themselves. They have to take care of themselves, however means that means. And then do something for the community. That means going out and really associating yourself with who you're around. And then the third thing, doing something for the world. Like, however that also means to you. Like, the first thing that comes to your mind when it says do something for the world, do that. Do that. And, people probably be like, but how's the world supposed to work? How's there going to be money in the economy? Let's just say there's no economy. No, I'm kidding. Let's say that we're in a world where it's like the ancient days, we have to go out into the wilderness and get our food. Like, I want that type of world. Like, we need to be connected to nature again. And my friend Jess Tran, she's so adamant and she advocates for this, but she doesn't like this whole crazy world that we're living in with the, like, I think she called it rat race once, but like the type of idea of the 9 to 5. She wants people to like be one with nature and really take into account like we're here because of the nature and the animals and the plants around us. We're not here to be working at a computer and doing work there and like, oh yeah, this is my life. Like, she really wants us to be out there. And ever since she's told me that, I'm like thinking about the world differently. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. She's like, we could all live in the wilderness. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I could. I could try, but like that type of world, like maybe we could just go back a little bit and just rethink that.
And be more connected to the world, right?
Be more connected to nature, yeah. I like that. I love nature. There's so much to take away from them. We literally learn from them. Like, scientists take things from what they see in nature and apply it to humans, and that explains why we are who we are and what we are. Like, we're literally organisms. Like, what? So I guess my law would be that we wouldn't have work and we would have to connect with nature again and be one with nature. And why have an economy if everything's free in the world? Like, your food's there, your life's there. Like, that would be my law. It's a very in-depth law, but
I love it.
It's really cool. There's gonna be some type of revelation for us one day that we'll be like, what if I just didn't work? What if I just lived in the nature that was meant for us? Yeah.
Perhaps we gotta, avoid all this distraction and be just, like you said, be more in touch with what we have and like be more connected to the surrounding and the nature. Even everything that you're seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that was the law that came to mind. Literally no other law came to my mind but that one. And I think it kind of goes back to like Native American culture. And I bring this up because I'm wearing a shirt.
Could you tell me more about your shirt? I was just looking at it and it's a beautiful shirt.
Thank you.
Very beautiful design, but a better depth of meaning. Could you help us explain and like what is this about?
Yeah, so my professor at SUNY Oswego, Dr. Hannes, he's an amazing professor. Like, wow, if you want to learn, you need to take his class. Like, he is so educated on various topics, but he specifically works in the Native American department, Native American Studies department. and he gives classes about almost everything, and it's really in-depth classes. Like, it's not surface level stuff that he's talking about. He needs you to understand the significance of all of this because it's a deeply rooted history. And I guess when I took his Native American Women's Studies class, my first semester here actually, I learned so much. But it was in September. It was September 30th, and it's Orange Shirt Day. And this is what the shirt was from. It was a booth called Orange Shirt Day, and we were signing things, and it was to kind of take into account that children that are from Native American descent, they go to missionary schools or mission schools that kind of take them away or assimilate them to the culture of like America or Canada. And it's not Native American culture that they're trying to instill in those students. They take this Native American culture away from those students by doing different things to them. And it's levels of abuse is what it's described as. So due to that fact, they have a day literally designated to recognizing the struggles of Native Americans and their children. And that's why it says every child matters.
Yeah.
Orange Shirt Day, yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, sometimes we lose touch with what's actually happened and we cover the story and culture. So thank you for sharing the perspective of that. And the first part of the solution is often discussing about the problem.
Yeah, it's like people don't really know about it. So of course, bringing awareness to it. But at the end of the day, how much awareness can you continue to bring to people and they still ignore it? So it's sad, but it's true. And I guess that brings me back to like why I want to be so connected to like our roots. Our roots are in Native American culture, and we can't forget that. We need to really bring back to where we are. We're on Native American land. It's very interesting how our society works. Like, I want us to go back. I want us to go back to when it was our unison with the land and with the people. We're so distant now. I don't like that.
Thank you, Jolie, for sharing your journey, your achievement, your drive.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me a platform.
And most definitely. And you taught us so very much about how we should invest the effort and in ourselves and in the achievement. And let us all remember that the success is not the achievement. The success is the effort that you put in yourself. I think that's the biggest takeaway from myself. And also never stop trying and find the best part about yourself. And I want to ask you as a last closing question is, what is the best advice you ever heard, or one of the most memorable one that could be something that helped you or something that you want to share to help the audience?
So much advice I've been given over the years, but I think the biggest piece of advice that I've learned is to never stop being yourself. That's a huge piece of advice due to the fact that people literally try and take you away from who you are and who you should be. But that piece is what makes you you. It is what makes you the person you are. It's what makes you different. It's what makes you complete. That's the best word. That's the best word for it. It's, if you're not being you, how are you going to feel like you're you? And how are you supposed to be happy by being you if you're not being you? There's just, again, the cycle of being you. I love the idea of just being yourself and being unapologetically yourself. At the end of the day, you should not be apologizing for who you are. And there's a lot of times that we've apologized for who we are. I've done it. I've done it so many times. But I'm not going to do it anymore. And I hope I don't. I might have some slip-ups and I'll just remember who I am again. But you're really awesome, Eason. So don't stop being who you are. Be yourself, because you're really awesome. And I hope that people really remember that, because people will try and take away who you are to make them like the next person or like somebody else. But then you're just becoming like everybody else. You don't want to be like everybody else. You want to be different. You want to be you. And then you can tell your own story and nobody else can tell it for you. It's yours.
There's no one like you.
No one like you.
I love that, you have been through so very much. And the most important advice that you ever learned is just to be yourself. It's so very simple. And that's so very true to yourself too. Well, thank you, Jolie,
Thank you,
for
Ethan.
joining us. And it was such a good time. And I will see everyone in the next episode. That was awesome, Jolie.
That was so great,
Oh.
Ethan. Oh, I talked about so much.